Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. We are doing a retake of day 7. I just didn't feel good about day 7. I felt like the signal wasn't great, and I got too focused on the signal not being great versus delivering the message. So I just really wanted to do a do-over or a retake or a take 2 and give you some takeaways to emerge, because I really didn't like yesterday's video. I try to do it from the cemetery because I don't want you to forget that you need to die empty. But that being said, it's a new day that's behind us. So day 7 of emerging, we are going to emerge to complete our God-ordained assignments. So we're going with day 7, and again, 5 tips to help you successfully emerge to become the beautiful butterfly that God has designed you to be. 5 tips to emerge to become the beautiful butterfly that you were designed to be. So this is take 2. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and go start going through the 5 tips. But before I go through the 5 tips, I want you to remember that as the metamorphosis process that we went through last week, again, it's okay to repeat. It's okay to have a do-over. Go over the steps that you need to go over so that you can really be ready and prepared to become all that God has designed you to be. So I don't want you to forget that. So repeat the steps as needed. So the first tip I want to share with you is to write down your vision, make a plan, break it down into baby steps so that you know how to go about accomplishing your God-given assignment. Write it down. Be very clear on what the end result is so that you can write down steps to accomplish your God-ordained assignment. Write down what it is, your goal is, your dream. Write it out on paper, because when you write it down, you're more. It's said that when you write things down, you're more apt to do them. So write down the vision. Write the vision. Make it plain. That's scripture. So I want you to write down that God-ordained assignment, and then write some steps, some actionable. Good morning, Rebecca. Good morning, Pam. Hey, sis. So write down some steps that you can take to carry out the plan. You got to have a plan. You got to be organized. So that was the first tip. Write the plan out. The second tip that I want you to recognize is that everybody can't go with you. So you got to check your circle. We talked a little bit about that last week. When you're trying to carry out what God has called you to do, check your circle. Yeah. Because everybody, again, they may be smiling and cheesing in your face, but they may not mean you any good. Check your circle. When you're checking your circle, include people in your circle that are already where you need to go, because that gives you something to strive toward. So check that circle, include people in the circle that are already where you're trying to go. But you got to definitely check that circle, because everybody is not for you. You can be hooked up to the wrong people. All right? Yes, Rebecca, your circle has gotten smaller. Smart. Tight and right. That's right. Very smart. You got to check that circle. Again, expand it to include people that have already arrived to where you're trying to go. The next tip is step 3, which is I want you to get some tools. Not only did we discover our wings, but you're going to need to do maintenance on those wings, if you will. And so I want you to put some things in your pockets, keep some things around you. So I definitely want you to get into the habit of prayer, praise, and worship. That's so important. Prayer, praise, and worship. You've got to get into the habit of doing that every day. I also affirmations, quotes, read up on the topic that God has called you to do. Again, when you write that plan, that was tip 1, you got to know what it is you're doing. So I encourage you to study what God has called you to do so that you'll know how to do it. Good morning, Martine. Hey, Aunt B. So listen, I want you to get some tools: prayer, praise, worship, affirmations, quotes, study, read. Try to read something every day on what it is you are trying to do. Now we've discovered the wings, but now you got to take care of the wings, okay? So get some tools. Again, prayer, praise, worship. Do what works for you, but you've got to maintain those beautiful butterfly wings. The next step is I want you to know that there is success in failure. Yeah, does that seem like an oxymoron? There's success in failure. How can that be, Andrea? I'm glad you asked. So in life, as you're moving forward to accomplish what God has called and designed you to be, there's going to be some failures. Let's just be honest. There will be failures. But what I want you to know is there is success in failures. So you step back and you look at those failures and you look at the lessons that you learned from those failures and apply those lessons when you try again. That's right, success in failures. Review the failures. Take a step back, look at them, and find out what you can learn from those failures, because there's success in failures. So again, look at the failures and identify what you can learn from those failures. Okay, that's an important one. The next thing I want you to remember is you can't please everybody while you're trying to do what God has called and designed you to be. People will drive you bonkers. You can't please them. You can't do it, so don't try to do it. You get your direction from God, and yes, you can seek some advice from people, from coaches. You can definitely seek advice. Seek advice. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to know what works for you. I saw somewhere the other day where it says it's okay to seek advice, but only use the advice that propels you and not derails you. That's good, right? Use the advice that propels you and not derails you. Good morning, Adrian. Thanks for joining. So it's okay to get advice, but you can't please everybody. And then I saw somewhere else where it says you can't live according to somebody else's blueprint. Hey, Chandra, you can't live according to everybody else's blueprint. You've got to do what works for you. And that reminded me of the story in the Bible of David and Goliath. David was getting ready to go. Hey, Cousin Bernice. David was getting ready to go battle Goliath, the giant. And initially, he tried on King Saul's armor. Hey, Hope. He tried on King Saul's armor. And King Saul's armor was way too big. It was big, and that just wasn't David's thing. David took that armor off, and he got his little slingshot, and he went and he knocked that giant out. You got to be you. You can't please everybody. You can't use everybody else's blueprint. You got to do what works for you. Use what you have. That's so important. So when you get ready to emerge, I want you, don't go by anybody else's blueprint. Do what works for you. That's right, sis. Use the advice that propels you and not derails you. So that's so important. So let's just recap real quick. First, you're going to write the vision down so that you know exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish. You don't just want to go what I call willy-nilly. You got to have some organization. Write the vision down. Write down the steps that you need to take to accomplish your vision, your goals, your destiny, your dreams. And then we talked about everybody can't go where you're going. You got to check your circle. Watch them people. Hey, Lisa, watch people that you have around you. Everybody smiling and grinning in your face is not cheering for you. They're not admiring your beautiful butterfly wings. They're jealous of them. They're jealous of the call and the destiny that's on your life. So check your circle and include in your circle somebody that has already arrived where you're trying to go, because that gives you something to look forward to. So check your circle. And then I want you've discovered the wings, but you got to take care of them. So you got to have some tools: prayer, praise, worship, scriptures, quotes, and read. You have to read up on the topic. And I encourage people, so many people think they can't do something because they don't have a college degree. College education is great, but what I want you to recognize is that you can pick up a book and read up on the topics that you need to read. Make use of the internet. Go to the library. Read up on what it is that you want to do. For me, I studied the butterflies inside and out. I have a certified Christian coach certificate, but I studied the butterflies and I related that to my real life. Your real life is a training. It's a class. It's a course. What did you learn from your real life experiences? So again, you need some tools to take care of those beautiful butterfly wings that you have discovered. And then we talked about there is success in failure. Yeah, there's going to be times where you will fail. It happens. But the success comes from failure when you look at those failures and you identify the lessons that you learned and then apply those lessons. Thomas Edison said, I might have failed 10,000 times, but I discovered 10,000 ways of how not to do it. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something of that effect. There is success in your failure. So take a look at your failures and get the lessons and learn as you keep trying. Just because you fail, you don't stop. You keep going. Keep going. And then I want you to know that you can't please everybody. You can't live by somebody else's blueprint. You've got to do it your way. And I talked about David and Goliath. Again, David tried on King Saul's armor, to try to go fight Goliath the giant. That armor was too big and too clunky for young David. And so David took that armor off, grabbed his slingshot, and went and knocked the giant out. So don't go according to anybody else's blueprint. You do it the way that God has told you to do it. You can't please everybody. They'll drive you crazy. One day they're telling you this, the next day they're telling you that. You'll be flat right out exhausted trying to please everybody. Time out for that. So as you begin to emerge as a beautiful butterfly and do and be all that God has called you to be, I want you to take these tips and use them and apply them. Remember, it's okay to repeat the metamorphosis process. It's okay to go through the steps. Maybe you're still dealing with your past and you're still trying to overcome it. It's okay. Do what you need to do. But when the time comes for you to emerge as a beautiful butterfly, keep these 5 tips in mind, because I promise you that it's going to be worth it in the end. And you're going to really, really go forward and be all that God has accomplished you to be. Can I give you a bonus tip? Can I, please? Don't just make $1, make a difference. How about that? Because sometimes we get our wrong focus. I had a conversation with my coach the other day where I was like, Coach, I need to start making some money from my business. And the thing is, you can't focus on the dollar. You got to focus on making a difference. And what is meant for you will come to you. It will be magnetized to you. Those were her exact words to me. And so listen, don't just make $1, make a difference. Focus on being who God has designed you to be. And everything else will come. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added. Seek doing his will. Seek being who he's called you to be. That's the bonus tip for today. Don't just make $1, make a difference. That's huge. All right. So listen, I'm Andrea T. Martin, your life discovery expert, speaker, and coach. Listen, drop your email in the comments. I'm going to pull all 7 days together so that you can have everything in one place. I'll email it to you so that you have it. Just drop your email, or if you want to email me, you can email me info@andreatmartin.com. And going forward, these 15-minute meetings or calls will be Monday mornings, 8 a.m. for 15 minutes. So the next one will be Monday morning. I thank you for spending the past 7 days, technically 8 days, with me. We had some technical difficulties yesterday, but we're moving forward. We're not letting that stop us. So again, drop your email, get a summary of the 7 days, but I'm going to send you some newsletters, and I want you to hear about my metamorphosis process, okay? That's a story in and of itself. I want you to read about how I went from promiscuous to the promises of God, how I went from mistress to ministry. Listen, I went from a mess to my life being a message. And I went from trials to triumph. My God, you got to hear my metamorphosis process. So connect with me so that you can hear about my journey. And of course, let me help you continue on your journey. So I'm going to meet you right back here next Monday, August 22nd at 8 a.m. for your Monday morning metamorphosis moment. Thanks for joining me. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.